Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Jenny's Travelling Spoon. We're going to be making one of my favorite dishes, kafta and batata sanieh, or kafta and potato oven bake. This is a really easy recipe to make and very flavorful. It can be served with bread or it can be served with Lebanese style rice. If you want to know how to make this rice, the recipe is on screen now. Kofta also can be served with hummus. I usually make it when I know I've got a busy week ahead. I just make it ahead of time and portion it off for meals throughout the week. Really nice to do when you've got guests coming over. With the kofta, I also sometimes pull it out of here if I've got leftovers and use it like a burger patty and make burgers. This is the Lebanese version and how I've been taught to make it. I have made a few modifications by adding carrots and capsicum. I don't fry my potatoes beforehand and I'm just trying to make it as healthy as possible. In a previous video, I've actually just made the kofta recipe by itself. If you want to refer to that video, it's on the screen right now. A link in the description below as well. If you like this video, please comment, like and subscribe. Also hit the notification bell so you know when I put out a new video. Now let's get started with this recipe. I've noticed some other people add chicken stock cubes and beef stock cubes and even add butter to it. If you get good quality ingredients, you really don't need to add any of that. And for the star ingredient of our dish, I'm using a nice quality beef mince. Cooking salt or normal salt, it's up to you. Either is good. Half a teaspoon of white pepper, 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and I like my food just a little bit spicy, so I like to put some dried chili in there, and that's about half a teaspoon. Half a bunch of green parsley, 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, 5 medium to large potatoes, 1 red capsicum. This is a bit small, so I might actually use a bit more of another one. I like filling this dish with as much vegetables as possible, so I will also put carrot in here. So 1 large carrot or 2 medium carrots. You'll need 1 large onion or 2 smallish to medium ones like I've got here. 3 really ripe Roma tomatoes, or if you don't have Roma tomatoes, you can just use the normal tomatoes. 2 of these. We'll need 200 ml of water to mix in with the tomato paste. The trick is not to make the vegetables too thick so it doesn't take too long to bake in the oven, and try to keep it consistent with all the cuts that you're doing. So our potatoes are just in a bowl with water covering them so they don't go brown. And now we're going to cut the capsicum into rings. So just cut around the stem part and pull out the seed pod. Okay. So again, we're keeping the thickness consistent throughout all the vegetables. With the tomatoes, I'm just going a little bit thinner, because I do want them to break down a bit more and blend in with the rest of the dish. So I do like my vegetables, so I'm actually going to add another tomato in here. I'm going to show you how to make it by hand without any machines. We're kind of cheating because we've got a beef mince that we're using, so it's not 100% by hand. I'm just going to put the beef mince in this bowl. So I'm just going to leave it in the bowl and put it in the fridge. This one I'm going to leave for the actual main dish, and I'm going to use this one, which is a bit on the smaller side. So we need to chop it as finely as possible. And also kind of dice it up like this just to get it a bit smaller and make a mess like I am. So that's about 1/3 of a cup. Very tightly packed. You can chop it as finely as possible. If you do have the guillotine chopper, that's also good. But let's just turn them around and chop them in the other direction so we can get them as small as possible. And it does help to have a sharper knife. It will be about 1/2 a cup. So let's have a look-see and see if I'm right. Oh, it's a bit more. Maybe 3/4 of a cup of parsley. If this all looks a bit too much hard work, you can have a look at the video link on screen at the moment and also in the description below, and you can see how I make it using a food processor. This is the way I make it if I just want to quickly put it together, and I'm kind of used to doing it. The other way is a bit faster, and I like to do the other way when I'm making big batches of it and freezing it. Okay, so now we're going to add in our herbs on top of here, herbs and salt and spices. Okay, so now we're just going to mix it all together by hand. And just make sure that you're mixing it really well so you don't get spots of intense spices or chili. Won't be very pleasant for the person eating it. So I think I'm happy with the way it's mixed now. At this stage, just before I start making these into patties, I will turn on the oven. I'll put it at 200 degrees. So you can make them as big or as small as you want. I usually flatten them out until they're about 1/2 centimeter thick and just about the size of your palm. You don't want them too big. They will shrink when they cook, but I prefer them to be a bit smaller. So that's one of them. This is the way my family has made it. I think it's much easier to share it. You don't have to have like an egg slide or whatever to cut into the patty at the bottom. You can just pull out whatever you want from the dish with tongs. So you make your one meal, have it for dinner, and maybe take it to work the next day and have like as a burger. If you find that it's sticking, you can dip your hand into the water, and that will help you to get a nice shaped patty. Depending on the size that you make them, this will make about 10 to 12. This is 500 grams of meat. You can up the quantity if you want it to have more. If you look at the Kafta recipe that I've got on my channel, I actually didn't put capsicum in this. I do actually put 1/2 a small capsicum just to hide some veggies in there so people don't actually realize how much vegetables they're eating. I've got some fussy eaters in my family, and it's also good for the kids because they don't realize, they think they're just eating purely meat. Now it's time to layer it up in our baking tray. I'm going to be using my Pyrex cookware, and this is a 9 by 13 inch, 22 centimeters by 33 centimeters. Starting with the kafta, I'm going to start layering it down the bottom. I noticed that some other people actually flatten the kafta down the bottom of here, like it's a meatloaf down the bottom. Personally, I don't like it, but I don't see anything wrong with doing that. So normally what I do, I lay all the patties down the bottom, because what you want to happen is for them to absorb all the flavor of the sauce and everything else. Traditionally carrots aren't supposed to be used, but I don't see why not. They take about the same time as potatoes to cook through. Continue layering it up until you've used all your ingredients. Just put the capsicums on top. So this is about half an hour in the oven at 200 degrees Celsius. We'll just have a look and test it. Test out the potatoes. They're usually the last things to cook, so they're actually getting there quite nicely. And just check out the carrots. Yep. So I've got a fan forced oven, so I think it's cooking it a bit faster than the previous oven I used to have. So I think another 15 minutes. So this is where like you need to check your oven and the strength of your oven. If it's really strong, it might cook it faster. So don't do 1 hour and that's enough. You might actually overcook it. Just pulled it out of the oven after putting it back in there for about 5 to 10 minutes, just to brown off the top and get some char grilled kind of effect at the top. Made a side dish of Lebanese style rice. If you want the recipe to it, it's on screen now. I hope you like this recipe. I'd love to hear how you went with it in the comment section below. Please subscribe and ding that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the other recipes I'm planning on putting up very soon. This smells so amazing and it's making me hungry. So I'm going to sign off and I'll see you in the next video.